Hello everyone. Why are you wearing sunglasses? Because I got my eyes dilated today. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Also sorry if you can't really hear me. I'll try and use my big girl voice because I don't have a microphone yet. I'll be getting one of those. So this series has been in the works for a long time and I've just been trying to get it together. I hope everyone likes this series. Today we're starting off my favorite cold case ever, my best friend and I. This is literally how we bonded because it's we were talking about it yesterday. We can always talk about it. That's the thing about this case is you can always keep talking about it because there's so many things that just aggravate you. So this is the JonBonét Ramsey case, and I don't know if anybody knows it, but I'm gonna lay down all the facts, and then in the end I'll tell you who I think did it. So that way I don't try and influence anyone throughout the video. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna be doing a makeup look. So today we're doing a pink and blue look for... Bro, I never tied my shirt the rest of the way. Anyways, we're gonna be doing a pink and blue look for JonBonét because... So, let's get started. Alright, so I already primed my eyes off camera. Also, all the products I use I'll list in the link below. That way we don't waste time talking about the beauty products and we stick to the facts. So, the beginning of the case starts a day after Christmas. So sad. December 26th, 1996 in Boulder, Colorado. Patsy Ramsey, the mother of John Ramsey, found a ransom note on the back stairs of her house. And oh my god, it said her little angel was missing. And the ransom note was like, we kidnapped JonBonét and we need you to give us money. Also, we're going to talk about the ransom note later because it's very intriguing. It's like, oh, we need you to blah, 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 give us the money and you'll get your kid back. Okay, so she calls the police and she's like, oh, this ransom note, my daughter is being kidnapped. Oh my god. So the police are like, okay, well, we're gonna start looking for her, blah, blah, blah. So keep in mind, they never come to the house and they never check inside the house to make sure JonBonét isn't somewhere in the house because they weren't led to believe that she was somewhere inside the house. 8 hours later, a body was found in the basement. It was JonBonét. It was in their utility closet in the basement. She'd been strangled and beaten to death by something, and so she was strangled to death by a rope, and they used a paintbrush from the mom's hobby kit to tighten it. Weird. And then she'd also been sexually disclaimer, this case is kind of gruesome. She'd been molested or sexually assaulted. There was DNA on her underwear and her clothes had been ripped. They found her so in the house. Kind of weird that a ransom note was written that she was kidnapped, but she was found inside the house. If I was a killer, let's have these moments where I hop inside the killer's mind. If I was the killer, would I bring my victim back to their house? No, I would not. No. So, there was duct tape over her mouth, and then, like I said, the cord was around her neck, the rope. Who JonBonét was. Let's talk about that. She was a 6-year-old little pageant princess, literally a perfect little angel. She was so beautiful. If you look at photos of her, she is stunning. She is gorgeous. Basically, I saw a guy in an interview. He said she was a pedophile's dream, and that's true because she was such a perfect little girl. She was so beautiful. She won 5 big main pageants. Also at the scene there were 2 sets of unidentified footprints, and they never really talked about that again, which is kind of a little weird. that wasn't really one of the driving factors of the case. Like, one of the driving factors was that the DNA and then also the ransom note. There was no signs of forced entry and there were no footprints out in the snow, so how could someone have gotten in? I would just like to say, inside the killer's mind, did he fly through the window? Also, if you look at the pictures of the broken window, it literally looks like somebody like punched their hand in it, like to make it look like somebody broke in. The ransom note was very specific and made it look like a freaking hoax, how specific it was. It asked for $118,000. Why? Why that specific amount of money? Why do you need that much money? Why would you ask for $118,000? Like, when I think of numbers, I would be like, oh, like $1 million. $118,000 does not pop into my brain. So that's like one of the things that made it look really suspicious. So the police were like, this is kind of weird. And about that number. So that number was very close to the bonus that John Ramsey, the dad, his bonus he received that year. Also, keep in mind, the only 3 people that were in the house at this time were Patsy, the mom, Burke, the brother, and John. John was the father. So, another thing about the ransom note is that it was really cartoony and fake, like the way it was worded. Certain words were spelled incorrectly, like easy words, like the word possession, but other words, like attaché, were spelled perfectly, which told the police that this was basically a hoax, like this ransom note. I almost said Ramsey note. Okay, sorry about the change of... the camera, do you think, does not have enough storage right this second, so I'm gonna have to take care of that in a little bit. The cartoony, how it was cartoony and the words were spelled correctly, and the other ones were like not, which is freaking weird. The police were like, oh, it's gotta be this family, and they were like, no, we didn't do it. What are you talking about? We would never kill our daughter, which was like suspicious because like all the evidence literally pointed to them. The evidence still points to them, but that is besides the point. Anyways, they're like, no, we didn't do this, blah blah blah, it couldn't have been us, we think someone broke in, it looks like a kidnapping, blah blah blah. The ransom note was signed SBTC, signed by the criminal, is what some people believe that means. That's not a proven like fact at all, but like some people think that's what it means. I think that's what it means. And the handwriting test that came out of this, it was not John's handwriting, but Patsy's test was inconclusive. And a lot of, I saw an interview where they were like asking her about, you know, her handwriting, and she was like, and like they made her write stuff down, and she like couldn't tell what was her handwriting or not. It was very weird. Like, she was just acting very strange about the whole thing, and this is why I was like, girl, it's you, you helped with this. But anyways, they analyzed, you know, the paper and the pencils used. The note was written inside the house, and someone practiced it before they they put out the real note, which is I'm sorry, but again, let's hop inside a killer's mind. If I'm going to kill and kidnap someone, I am not going to write a practice note at their house and then leave the practice note to where the police can find it, and then also kill their daughter and then bring her back. That makes... Now, you tell me, does that make sense to you? Because that does not make sense to me at all. I'm sorry, but it don't. And I don't know any killers. It's not like I can go and ask them, but I'm thinking that that's not what anyone would do. That's just my opinion though. That is the beginning of the case. Like, that's the crime that happened. So now you know all the facts about that. Let's dive into the suspects, because that is really where it gets interesting. The parents were gigantic suspects in the beginning, okay? Obviously, Why would they not be? There's literally no signs of forced entry. There's no signs. Oh my god. There's no signs that someone broke into the house except for a broken window, which looks like someone went, like I said earlier, and the handwriting test was inconclusive. They never talked about the footprints, but apparently Burke, the little brother, had a pair of shoes in the same size and same make as one of the footprints, like one set of the footprints. Huh? Why? After, you know, it comes out like, oh my god, these parents killed their child, blah blah blah. Some news programs are like, oh my god, Patsy killed her accidentally, or like another news program was like, Burke killed her accidentally, blah blah blah. They were like theorizing about which family member killed them. And like a lot of people also think like, oh, maybe John was really abusive to JonBonét and stuff like that. Still, like at that time, everyone was like, oh my god, who done it? In 2013, yeah, we're jumping ahead a little bit. In 2013, it came to light that JonBonét's parents were supposed to be charged with child abuse, you know, resulting in death. Because why not, obviously. But then the attorney, the district attorney, Alex Hunter, he did not sign the indictment because he was like, there's not enough proof that they did it. All the proof was pointing to them. What are you talking about? They didn't do it. Anyways, you would think that you know, they did it, but that guy was like, nah. The DNA didn't match any of the family members, so it couldn't have been them. And then like they got rid of that district attorney, and like the new district attorney literally made like a public announcement, and she was like, oh my god, like I didn't ever mean to assume that it was you guys. I feel terrible, blah blah blah. Let's talk about the suspectos, other suspects. There are 3 other ones, and oh boy, does it get spicy. So, the suspectos. Let's start with big boy Bill McReynolds. He dressed up as Santa Claus, and he came to the house 2 days before the murder. So, a lot of people were like, oh my god, maybe it's him. His daughter was kidnapped exactly 22 years before JonBonét's death. Kinda weird. And his wife wrote a book, play, about a child getting molested and murdered in a basement. I'm sorry, but that's kinda weird. So that's a little suspicious. And he felt really close to JonBonét, which could be just him being an old man, being like, oh, I love kids, blah, blah, blah. But when he went into heart surgery, JonBonét had given him a vial of glitter, because children, and he was like, if I die, mix this glitter with my ashes. Bruh, that's weird as hell. And a quote from the Denver Post, let me read it to y'all. I gotta provide you with the facts. He said, her murder was harder on me than my operation. She made a profound change in me. But nothing was to suggest that he was the killer. The next suspect is pretty freaking weird. His name is Gary Oliva. What a weird guy. He lived a few blocks away from her. In December of 2000, he was arrested on drug charges. And whenever he was arrested, they went through his book bag and they found a picture of our queen herself, JonBonét. Now, if you ask me, that is a little freaky. And they were like, yo, why you got a picture of this child in your book bag? And he said, a quote from the Denver Post again, JonBonét's murder touched me very deeply. I felt she was an exceptional girl whose death was an exceptional loss. I felt the need to build a monument, a shrine, to remember this little girl. Okay, and then later in 2016, he was arrested on child pornography charges. But that was definitely a weird sign. Everyone was like, yo, what is up? A high school friend named Michael Vale came out and was like, yo, my friend Gary Oliva called me a day after the murder and told me I hurt a little girl. I hurt a little girl. And he also told him the location of where he hurt the little girl. And he said, Boulder, Colorado. Now, there was like research done, and the only other girl that was hurt that night in Boulder, Colorado, there were no other ones. It was just JonBonét. So that's kind of weird. The strangulation method also that was used to kill JonBonét, he also used the same method on his own mother. He tried to kill his own mother. Like, he's a real winner here. Of course comes the DNA test. Oh, Big Papa was not the killer because the DNA did not match. So the next guy was John Mark Carr. He was divorced and he was an elementary school teacher. Well, he was also a father, so that makes this even worse. He had children. How do these weird people get married and like so he didn't become a suspect until 2006 when he admitted to his journalist friend, who he didn't know was a journalist because the guy had been pretending to be his friend so he could find out more information about him. He admitted that this guy's name was Michael Tracy. He admitted to Michael Tracy that he had killed JonBonét. And I feel bad for this guy, Michael Tracy. He became friends with this guy. He had to hear this guy's weird fetishes for like 4 years just so he could get, you know, facts for journalism. That's dedication. I don't think I could do that. But what was weird, it was that he used similar wording like in his emails, like the ransom note. I just think this guy was obsessed with the case. Like, he had studied it and he wanted to get the fame for it, you know what I mean? He also used Patsy's nickname, Nettie, which, like, how did he know? And then also, he was like describing like how he killed her and stuff like that, and he was like, I banged her over the head with the flashlight, and then I, you know, like did stuff to her and killed her with, you know, a rope. And then he confessed he was in love with her. Okay, she's 6, but whatever. And then he said, like, the police were like, no, it's not you, we're not stupid, because the DNA wasn't his. And he was like, well, I didn't act alone. And the police were like, oh shit, the 2 footprints at the scene. Wow, this could be our guy. And then the police did a little bit more digging, and they realized that John Mark Carr wasn't even in Colorado at the time. They had pictures of him in Georgia. So yeah, he wasn't even in the town at the time of the murder. Like, bro, how do you confess to something? Like, you obviously, there's proof you didn't commit. He was not the killer either. So, where does this leave us? Well, good question. Thanks for asking. Literally nowhere, because we have no leads and all the suspects, none of their DNA matches. The DNA thing. Henry Lee, DNA expert. He worked on the O.J. Simpson case. Don't even get me started on that case, because I'll get fired up. He worked on the JonBonét case, and he said that he could tell that there was some manufacturer DNA on the underwear. So he tested an unopened package of underwear from the same manufacturer, and there was indeed manufacturer DNA on it. So he deemed the DNA fallacious, which basically meant that it could have been any one of the suspects' DNA on there. It was just like the manufacturer DNA was kind of like misconstruing like what the killer's DNA, like, I don't know how to explain it, but you get what I mean. Like, it really could have been any of them. So let's get into my theory. Bro, stop talking. I think my theory, my little theory, and I have some evidence to back me up, is that I think it was Burke and Patsy. Nobody ever talked about the brother. And that's what's freaking weird. They always left the brother out of it for some reason. I mean, yeah, he was a kid, but that doesn't mean he's still not a suspect. And the fact that he had a pair of the same shoes in the same make, and nobody ever did anything about it. Also, there was rope that was found by JonBonét's like bedroom, and they never tested it. There's so much evidence in this case that wasn't handled properly. Are you joking me? Why can't you handle it correctly? That bothers me so much. Oh my gosh, it's literally my biggest pet peeve about this case, is that they let the family walk around the house even after she was dead, which means they could have been hiding stuff and the police never would have known because, oh, guess what, the family was in the house and you let them, so that's on them. So I think the brother did it, and with the mom's help. And you know, sometimes my theory changes all the time, because all the time, like, I'm like set on this theory sometimes, and I'm like, oh, this is definitely what happened. The brother did it, and the mom helped. Well, the mom figured out, and she was like, oh no, I have to cover this up for my son. So I think that she helps him. But what's really weird to me about this whole scenario, so there's a picture that not a lot of people have seen. There was a bowl of pineapple in milk, ew, found at the scene, and nobody really talks about this, but it's like a big thing to me, because I think it's a big point of evidence that nobody really ever discusses, is that pineapple was found in JonBonét's system when the autopsy report came out. Huh, that's a little weird that there was pineapple in her system, and nobody ever talks about this. And the prints that were found on that pineapple bowl were the brother and the mother's. So I think that they were feeding JonBonét, like, oh, the pineapple before they did something. I don't know. But anyways, I saw an interview with the brother when he was younger, and the police were like, oh, like, do you have snacks at night? Like, what's your favorite, like, nighttime snack? And he was like, oh, I don't know, like chips, or I forget what he said. But they were like, oh, okay, so do you ever eat like fruit at night? And he was like, yeah. And they were like, oh, what's your favorite fruit? And he was like, well, they said, like, do you usually have fruit in the house? And he was like, yeah. And they were like, oh, do you keep pineapple in the house? And he was like, yeah. And the guy was like, oh, is that your favorite? And he was like, probably. First of all, he hesitated. Weird. And he was like, probably. And then the guy was like, oh, did JonBonét like pineapple? And the brother said, yeah, it was her favorite. Because the handwriting was definitely hers. I'm sorry, but it was most definitely hers. And so I think that the brother did it with the help of the mom. And there's so many different things. In the interview with Dr. Phil that the brother did, he only has spoken out once, and he said he'll never do another interview again. So that's all we get. I'm gonna do my eyeliner and come right back. Okay, so back to what I was saying. The Dr. Phil interview. In this Dr. Phil interview, like, it was like a crazy. Everyone was like, oh my god, the brother's speaking out finally. And everyone was like, please tell us what happened. Like, maybe he was gonna give us some information about the case. The brother does this interview, and you know, he's not giving anything away at all, except for when Dr. Phil goes, okay, now, Burke, did you kill your sister? And you want to know what Burke says? He goes, no, I did not kill my sister. Looks at the camera and goes, well, look at the evidence. Well, lack thereof. Why are you smiling? Don't say that. You look suspicious. You look so suspicious when you say stuff like that. He says that, and everyone's like, I'm a little scared. I mean, at least I said that. And everyone was talking about, like, the whole time of the interview, he was, like, smiling. A guy in an interview said that, oh, I don't think he was smiling. I think he was uncomfortable. Which, yes, you can be uncomfortable. And, like, if you smile uncomfortably, I guess that's just how you deal with things. But at the same time, love, you look mighty suspicious. Like, very suspicious. I'm sorry, but it just looks weird. He said that, and I was like, he did it. If he the way he smirked, you knew he knew he got away with something, and like no one could catch him. All of that happened, and like I've seen multiple interviews from when he was a kid, and he just seems oddly calm about everything, which I mean, if something traumatic happens, that's kind of me too. One, he heard the parents screaming, so he says. The interviewer was like, weren't you curious? And he was like, yeah. And the guy was like, well, what do you do when you're curious? And he was like, I go find out. And then the guy was like, so why did you lay in your bed whenever you know you heard your parents screaming and stuff? And he was like, I figured someone would tell me. What? You wouldn't stay in your bed unless you already knew, bro. He just laid in his bed and said, I hope someone would just tell me. But then the interview also was like, oh, what did you think happened to your sister? And he was like, I thought she'd been kidnapped, or that I highly doubted that. And I was like, how did you? Why would you just assume that your sister had been kidnapped if you heard your parents screaming? So that is who I think done it. But then there's also theories that it could be just a pedophile who broke in, which makes no sense because there's no signs of forced entry. So again, that theory to me in my mind, I'm like, nope, that's not it at all. A lot of people think that it could have been the dad, but like in my eyes, there's no way that like a serial killer or something came in their house, not a serial killer, like a pedophile or something came in their house. There's just no evidence. And another reason why I think it's the brother is the paintbrush, or the mother, the brother or the mother, the paintbrush that was tied around her, like the rope to help tighten, you know, that like the paintbrush, like I said, was from the mom's hobby kit. Now how would a killer who wrote a ransom note saying that he kidnapped the daughter be in the house, you know, just hiding out for 8 hours, or sneak back in? Now, why would he know where a hobby kit was? It doesn't look like it was just out in the open. A killer would not know there was a freaking hobby set in the basement. Are you kidding? And if you say otherwise, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. No, I'm kidding. I accept all theories. Please drop them below because I want to hear what everyone has to say. But I just think there's some things that are just, that don't add up about this case, you know what I mean? Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you like this series. Please let me know. I have like 18 subscribers, so if you see this, please give me a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe. It would really mean a lot. Thank you so much, and if you do like it, let me know, because I'm going to be releasing another one next Friday, and then another one the Friday after that. So comment below if you have any specific cases you want me to do, because I love true crime, and I'm actually really sad that this case will never be solved, because I honestly do just want justice for JonBonét, and it's sad that if her parents actually did do it or had some part in it, they refuse to say anything about it, and that kind of infuriates me. But also, I got inspiration. But I got this idea. Actually, I'm really inspired by Bailey Sarian. She's a YouTuber, and she does like murder makeup Mondays. I love it. It's so good. Gave me inspiration for this because I'm just doing makeup and true crime, and she does true crime, ghost stories, mystery. She does everything, and I love it. Please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe, and I'll see you back here next Friday. Alright, love you guys. Bye!